Sometimes it isn't the world that's strange. It's our interpretation of it. A princess under attack that isn't alive. Missiles on a highway that aren't real. A hidden code that was never a code. And somewhere in Florida, something in the water that people have been describing for over 70 years. Tonight, we're not just looking at unusual stories. We're looking at something deeper. How easily reality can be misread. This is Sunny from Muse Media, and this is the Daily Dozen. 12 developments from around the world worthy of your information-hungry attention. So let's go. Wow, this is going to be an interesting lineup. Beginning with Rapunzel. At Tokyo Disney Sea, in one of the most controlled environments imaginable, something unscripted happened. An animatronic Rapunzel, designed to repeat the same motions, the same expressions, the same song over and over, was suddenly interrupted by crows. 2 birds landed on the figure and began pulling at her hair. Now, this is Rapunzel. Not gently and not curiously, but seriously aggressive, as if they had identified it as something extraordinarily useful. Material and fiber, something that belonged in a nest. Rapunzel, she didn't react. She couldn't. She continued to sing. She smiled. She turned her head. A perfect illusion of life, being quietly dismantled by something very real. Experts say this behavior is typical. Crows are highly intelligent and they're opportunistic builders. They use anything they can find: twigs, wires, animal fur, synthetic fibers. To them, this wasn't a princess, it was inventory. Maybe that's the moment that really sticks, when something we see as meaningful is seen by something else as nothing more than nesting material. There's a video link in the description. And from something that looked real but wasn't, to something that looked dangerous but wasn't. On a Florida highway, again, because everything weird happens in Florida, multiple drivers called 911. They reported a pickup truck carrying missiles, not small ones, large, mounted, unmistakable shapes that triggered the kind of response you don't second guess. Law enforcement reacted immediately. A trooper intercepted the vehicle. A safety perimeter was established. The bomb squad was called in, because in modern life, when something looks like a threat, you treat it like one, until proven otherwise. But when officers finally inspected the cargo, they found something far less alarming, though no less interesting. The missiles were hobby rockets, plastic, non-functional, used for demonstrations and educational events. They were, however, convincing enough to trigger a full emergency response, which highlights something subtle but important. Our brains don't wait for confirmation. They react to pattern recognition, shape, size, context, and suddenly something harmless becomes something dangerous. And sometimes that reaction happens faster than reality can catch up, especially with the given times that we live in, which leads to a different kind of perception, not of danger, but of connection. There are individuals around the world who report forming deep emotional and sometimes romantic attachment to objects. This phenomena is known as objectum sexuality, and it's not new. Cases have been documented for decades, people forming bonds with bridges, buildings, machines, even pieces of infrastructure. To an outside observer, it's easy to dismiss, but psychologically it raises a serious question. What defines connection? Or is it the internal experience of becoming attached itself? Some researchers suggest that for these individuals, objects provide stability and consistency, a lack of unpredictability. In a world where human relationships are often complex and can be uncertain, an object becomes something fixed, reliable, and unchanging. And while it may seem unusual, it highlights something broader. The human mind doesn't just respond to reality, it constructs it. And when it comes to how we treat living things, that construction becomes even more important. Italy has recently strengthened its stance on animal mistreatment, introducing penalties that include prison time and significant fines. This isn't just a legal adjustment, it's a shift in classification, moving cruelty from something seen as minor to something treated as serious. Because historically, animal welfare laws have often lagged behind public sentiment. But that's changing, and there's a reason. Research in psychology has long shown a link between cruelty towards animals and broader patterns of violent behavior, meaning how a society treats animals can reflect deeper patterns within that society itself. Laws in this case don't just punish behavior, they signal values. And while laws shape behavior, some systems exist entirely outside of the regulations. There is a global communication system that predates the internet, and in some ways outperforms it. The good old ham radio. Operators can transmit signals across continents using atmospheric reflection, a phenomenon known as skip. Signals bounce off the ionosphere, traveling thousands of miles. Some operators even communicate by bouncing signals off the moon. It's called Earth-Moon-Earth communication, and it works. There's no infrastructure and there's no servers. There's no subscriptions, just physics. And in a disaster scenario, when modern systems fail, this becomes the fallback, a reminder that sometimes older systems are more resilient than the newer ones. Boy, howdy, isn't that the truth? And now we move from communication to something far more unusual. A new global event is being organized, and it's unlike anything else. It's the Sperm Racing World Cup. I really wish I was joking there. Participants submit biological samples, which are then placed into a microfluidic environment designed to stimulate real biological conditions. High-resolution imaging tracks the movement, and AI systems convert that movement into a visual race. Now, beneath the humor, because this is really stupidly funny, there's a real issue. Global studies show that male fertility rates have been declining for decades, and one key factor is motility. It's movement, how efficiently the sperm moves. So while the format feels unconventional, the underlying concern is legitimate, which creates a strange intersection where science and public awareness and spectacle all meet in one big donor space. And sometimes what spreads fastest isn't science, but rumors. A viral claim suggested that residents in Florida, again with the Florida retirement community, were using colorful loofahs on their cars as part of a secret code. Different colors and different meanings. It all sounds so strategic. The story spread quickly because it felt plausible. But when investigated, the explanation was far simpler. Parking lots, hundreds of identical vehicles. The loofahs was just a visual marker. This is how misinformation often works, not through complete fabrication, but through interpretation. A real object and a real behavior given a different meaning. I think the swingers theory is still far more intriguing. And sometimes the environment itself can be misinterpreted. In Greece, the sky turned a deep red caused by the Saharan dust traveling across thousands of miles. Fine particles suspended in the atmosphere scatter light differently, shifting wavelengths toward gray tones. The science is straightforward, but the experience is not, because when the sky changes color, it doesn't feel scientific, it just feels all wrong. And while nature can distort perception, technology is redefining it. A quantum navigation system was recently tested, designed to function without satellites. Instead of receiving signals, it measures motion directly. Using quantum sensors, it detects changes in position with extreme precision. This eliminates a major vulnerability. GPS can be jammed, it can be spoofed, it can be lost. This system cannot, because it doesn't rely on external input. It always knows where it is, based on how it moved to get there. And not all innovation happens in laboratories. In China, a self-taught inventor has created a fully drivable bed. It's built from scrap materials, integrating electronic motors, steering controls, and structural reinforcements. What appears humorous is actually a very complex fabrication. This reflects a broader trend. decentralized innovation where individuals and not corporations build functional machines from available materials. I've included a photo in the video. And now something less visible, but more impactful. We are speaking less. A study analyzing thousands of participants across multiple years found a steady decline in daily spoken words, about 338 fewer words per day per year, from 16,000 in 2005 to 12,700 in 2019. These are not lost conversations. These are lost moments and small interactions that used to exist between everything else. It's been replaced by systems, automation, efficiency. We didn't stop communicating. We changed how we do it. And something has been lost in the process: presence. And finally, something that may be misunderstood or may not be. Reports again from Florida describe a large horned, four-legged creature in the St. Johns River. These sightings date back to 1953. There's no hard evidence, but consistent descriptions, which raises the final question: when something is seen repeatedly without proof, does that make it less real or more persistent? 12 stories, different explanations, and one consistent theme: what we see is not always what's there. Follow the signals, question the noise, and I'll see you on the night side.